In 2010, a federal class action, MDL number 1999, Eastern District of Wisconsin, proved that every major outdoor power equipment manufacturer in the United States had been overstating engine horsepower by 30 to 50% for over 15 years. That included Briggs & Stratton, Honda, Kawasaki, Kohler, Deere, Husqvarna, Toro, Sears, and MTD. The settlement was $65 million. Consumers got $35 to $75 each. The industry quietly switched from horsepower ratings to cubic centimeters and kept selling, but the horsepower fraud was just the beginning. Do you know which transmission is installed inside 9 of the top 10 riding mowers in America and ships from the factory filled with the wrong oil? Do you know which manufacturer sells drain plug kits and synthetic fluid for a component the companies that buy it label sealed, non-serviceable, do not add oil? And do you know which brands recalled over 68,000 mowers in 2024 because the engines catch fire, and then recalled an entire product line in 2025 because they can ignite while sitting in your garage? We cross-referenced a decade of recall data, teardown reports, and service records to expose the single engineering scam hiding inside nearly every consumer riding mower sold in America, and to show you exactly what to buy instead. Walk into any Home Depot, Lowe's, or Tractor Supply, and you will see a dozen brand names on the riding mower aisle. Craftsman, Cub Cadet, Troy Bilt, Husqvarna, John Deere. It looks like competition. It is not. Stanley Black & Decker controls Craftsman, Cub Cadet, Troy Bilt, Yard Machines, Boland's, Hustler, and Big Dog, all manufactured through MTD. They bought Craftsman from Sears for $900 million in 2017 and acquired XL Industries for another $1.9 billion in 2021. Husqvarna Group, a Swedish conglomerate spun off from Electrolux, owns Husqvarna, Poulan, Redmax, Dixon, and Yazoo Keys. Briggs & Stratton, the largest small engine manufacturer on Earth, filed for bankruptcy in 2020 carrying over $900 million in debt, got bought by a private equity firm in 63 days, and still owns Simplicity, Snapper, Ferris, and Murray. Deere & Company rounds out the list. 4 corporations, every brand you recognize, and nearly all of them install the same disposable transmission, filled with the wrong oil from the factory. But the ownership chart is only half the scam. The real story is what they put inside the machine. The heart of every consumer riding mower is a Tough Torque K46 transaxle. One company, Tough Torque Corporation out of Morristown, Tennessee, supplies 9 of the top 10 lawn tractors sold in America. They have shipped over 15 million units from a single plant. The K46 combines hydraulic pump, motor, differential, reduction gears, and wet disc brakes into a 27-pound aluminum housing. It is the most mass-produced transmission in the history of outdoor power equipment. It is also engineered to die. The K46 ships from the factory filled with conventional 10W30 motor oil. Tough Torque's own published recommendation is 5W50 full synthetic. The original equipment manufacturers, John Deere, Husqvarna, Cub Cadet, Craftsman, and Troy Bilt, choose the cheaper oil. Conventional 10W30 breaks down under the heat that a hydrostatic transmission generates during normal use. It loses viscosity, it stops lubricating, and the transmission starts eating itself from the inside. You will hear it before you see it, a faint whine on uphill grades. Then reverse starts slipping. Then the unit loses power after 20 to 30 minutes of continuous mowing, just long enough to make you think the problem is intermittent. It is not intermittent, it is progressive and terminal. The typical failure window is 200 to 500 hours. A homeowner mowing 65 hours a year hits that window in 3 to 7 years, which, by design, falls just outside the standard 2-year, 120-hour warranty. But here is what makes this a scam and not just bad engineering. The K46 housing has casting provisions for a drain plug. Tough Torque sells drain plug kits. Tough Torque sells synthetic fluid. Tough Torque sells an extended repair kit for $400. The company that builds the transmission knows it needs servicing. The companies that sell you the mower stamp, sealed, non-serviceable in the owner's manual, and tell you never to add oil. 3 contradictory positions. The manufacturer says service it. The assembler refuses to install a drain plug. The marketing department tells you it never needs maintenance. The version that reaches the consumer is the one most likely to cause premature failure. A replacement K46 costs $650 to $1,500, depending on the variant. Add dealer labor at 3.2 hours of book time, and you are looking at $1,200 to $2,000, 40 to 60% of what the mower cost new. And the transmission is not even the only component they hollowed out. Consumer mower decks use 12 to 14 gauge steel, 75 thousandths to 105 thousandths of an inch thick. Commercial mowers use 7 gauge steel at 180 thousandths of an inch. That is less than half the thickness. Stamped consumer decks crack at stress points and rust through in 3 to 5 seasons. You cannot weld them without warping the spindle mounts. The spindle housings are stamped aluminum with sealed, non-greasable ball bearings. Commercial spindles, Skag and Exmark, use cast iron housings with tapered roller bearings rated for 10 times the service life. When your consumer spindle fails, the blade drops. A 3-spindle replacement with pulleys and labor runs $500 to $600. The engines are no longer American or Japanese on most consumer units. MTD now uses Zongshan engines from China, rebranded as PowerMore. Husqvarna uses Rato, Lansin, and LCT engines marketed as Husqvarna engines. The cost difference between a commercial Kawasaki and a Zongshan at the factory is roughly $100. $100 the conglomerates refuse to spend. Troy-Bilt carries a 1.1 out of 5 rating on Consumer Affairs across 600 reviews. Cub Cadet rates between 1.2 and 2.3. A former Gardenway employee, the company that originally built Troy-Bilt, described the post-acquisition product in 4 words. Today the name is put on junk. Consumer Reports surveyed over 18,000 riding mower owners. Nearly 1 in 3 reported breakdowns or serious problems within 5 years. The total repair cost over the life of a $2,000 to $3,500 consumer mower runs $1,500 to $3,000, often exceeding the original purchase price. You are not buying a mower. You are buying a 3-year subscription to a machine designed to strand you in your own yard. So if every brand on the shelf runs the same disposable transmission, the same stamped deck, and the same unbranded engine, does that mean there is nothing worth buying? No. It means you have to stop shopping where they want you to shop. The first option is vintage. The John Deere 318, built from 1983 to 1992, used an overbuilt Sunstrand hydrostatic transmission that is fully serviceable. Owners report 2,500 hours on original units. One owner documented 29 years of continuous use. The frame alone weighs more than an entire modern consumer mower. Used market price is $1,500 to $3,500. The second option is independent commercial. Skag, owned by Metalcraft of Mayville, a private family company, fabricates from raw sheet steel. Bad Boy Mowers out of Batesville, Arkansas is independently owned. Wright Manufacturing in Frederick, Maryland holds over 50 U.S. patents and invented the stand-on mower. Entry-level commercial units like the Gravely ZT-HD 48 or Skag Liberty Z run $4,500 to $5,500 and use Hydro Gear ZT 3100 transmissions with serviceable oil, external spin-on filters, 1-inch axle shafts, and cut steel gears rated for 1,500 hours or more. The third option is the best-kept secret in the industry, a used commercial zero-turn, 3 to 5 years old with 300 to 600 hours, purchased for $2,500 to $4,500. These machines were built to survive commercial abuse, 1,500 to 3,000 hours of daily professional use. A homeowner running 65 hours a year could mow for 20 years or more. Cost per year, $250 to $400. A consumer mower replaced every 5 years costs $600 to $850. The expensive mower is cheaper to own. The math is not close. 4 conglomerates control the riding mower market. They fill transmissions with the wrong oil. They seal the housing so you cannot change it. They stamp non-serviceable in the manual so you blame yourself when it dies 3 years later. Stop buying their brands, stamped decks, sealed transmissions, and Chinese engines hidden behind American names. Instead, choose a vintage Deere with a transmission that will outlast the house. Choose a Skag built from raw steel by a family that still owns the factory. Or buy a used commercial zero-turn designed for a decade of punishment and give it a lifetime of weekends. The mower industry is counting on you to walk into a big box store, trust the brand name, and replace the machine every 5 years without asking why. Now you know why. Buy accordingly.